Hello, it's been a while. I'm Skid from the Widescreen Gaming Forum. Today I'm going to be giving you a look at Kerbal Space Program. So this game's actually been in early access for a fair while now. So it's still a beta version, it's version 0.24. So why am I looking at it now? Well, 3 reasons. Firstly, there's not been much else on in terms of new games, so that's kind of why my channel's been quiet. Sorry about that. Secondly, they recently added in what resembles, or what I'm suspecting is going to be their final campaign mode, or at least the beginning parts of it. The core design is probably the best way to describe it. And thirdly, either due to tweaks somewhere along the lines, or because they're now running a 64-bit client, the game actually runs relatively well on a triple monitor setup. It used to have a really, really bad frame rate. But anyway, let's start where we always do. Multi-monitor support. So, I'm fairly sure this is a Unity engine game, which means that natively it supports multi-monitor resolutions and it supports them horizontal plus, so long as they don't tweak about with anything. So, as you can see, resolution's up here. There's no need to mess around with that. It's quite happy to put it. I can't remember if it picked it up by default because I've had this game for a while, well over a year. It's been in early access for a fair while. Ah yeah, this is definitely a Unity game. Fastest, fast, simple, good, beautiful and fantastic. They are default Unity settings. So yeah, this is a Unity game. As you can see, I've got things mostly as high as they will go. Not quite as high as they'll go. Anti-aliasing is off. I've got it V-synced. There's no SLI profile for the game as far as I'm aware. Looking at the sync between my 2 cores, one's running at 33%, one's running at 50%, so I'm probably just getting single car performance out of this at the moment. It might be possible to force SLI on, but the performance I'm getting at the minute is good enough. So yeah, there's not a great amount of graphical details, but there's enough here to tweak it to your system settings. Full array of audio options, sound normalizer, which is not something I've ever seen before in a game. Did I actually end up tweaking all of these, or is this just what the normalizer's done? That might be what the normalizer's done. Yeah, because a normalizer is supposed to level out the sound across the entirety of like a audio file or multiple audio files. So that's probably what it's done. You then got a lot of controls. I don't even know half of them, but I know enough of them to be getting around. And then some general settings. So, let's get into the game. What is Kerbal Space Program? Well, as the name might imply, it's kind of a sandboxy rocket science simulator. So basically you build rockets and you try and fire them off places and you try and achieve goals depending on where you start off. Now there are some training missions. It is probably a good idea to start to do these first, just to give you a basics of how the mechanics work in the game. For example, there's one in here to dock with a space station. I think it might be this one. And that basically involves an entirely different system to what you may be used to thinking. As I said, it's basically a rocket science simulator. So they're worth doing. They're definitely worth doing. And then some scenarios as well. I think it's actually in here. Station 1. Nope, that's a different one. It's been a while since I've even looked at these. That was not what I meant to do. Never mind. Oops, great start. Let me just go back. Oh dear. This be Jebediah Kerman. He is one of the main ones, and I think in this one you've just got to help him get back to his spaceship. Which I think... is just a matter of basically syncing up his orbit to it. And then thrusting his way over. But because we're in space, basically Newton's law, so you have inertia and momentum and you will just keep going unless you thrust in the opposite direction. It's actually probably a good idea that I actually did this, because I'm probably not going to get... Oh no, I will do. But yeah, let's go back to what I was meant to be doing. Main menu. So, okay, yeah. So they're useful to start out with. Certainly the training is, you'll want to go through those, but the meat of the game comes into 3 sections. You have the new career mode, which is what I'm going to be doing. the science mode, which is basically the career mode just without the contracts and cash, so you can build whatever you like as big as you like, but you are limited to what you've unlocked via science, which you'll be able to see once I get into the game. And then Sandbox is as it sounds, you basically get access to everything and you can do what the hell you like. So I'm going to start a new career. I am Nathan Kerman. Actually, no, we are Skid Kerman. And we'll use the flag that I like to use. Okay, so let's start. So the way the new campaign mode works is that basically you'll be given a budget and you've got science, and you'll only have access to a certain selection of ships. Now, progress is largely going to be determined by doing these, which are your contracts that you can take. So the two you'll want to start with are these ones here, launch new vessel, which basically just, if you want to, or only requires you to basically launch any ship off the ground. So long as it's, I think it gets airborne, then you'll pass this one. You'll get an advance, is how much money you will get given at the start of accepting it. You'll get some on completion, you'll get some science and some reputation on some completion. And if you fail, and this one is not possible to fail, then you will also lose credits. I'm not sure what the currency is actually supposed to be. Anyway, yeah. So that's the first one you want to accept, and while you're at it, you may as well set the altitude record of 5,000 meters as well, because they're both pretty easy to do. So yeah, we'll come back to here later because we'll get some more, but this will allow me to build a very basic rocket, which we can then show you how things go. So, as I said, this is a rocket science simulator, so what you need to do is build yourself a rocket. So what we'll start with, and you will have to start with, is some sort of command pod. Now later on you will unlock unmanned control pods, which are basically you use for satellites. But if you actually want to send a Kerman into space, then you'll want to be using this. Next thing we'll need to add is some way to get it up to 5,000 meters. So we're going to need some fuel. Give it a wee bit more fuel, and we'll give it a thruster, an engine, standard rocket engine. So that should be enough to get me into orbit. However, they have recently, or as part of the campaign mode, you get money back from your parts if you can land them successfully back on Kerbin, which is the name of the planet. Can you tell where all the naming's gone? Kerman, Kerbin, Kerbals. So yeah. So in order to bring it back down safely, we are going to need, where is it? This one here, parachute. So we'll put that on the top. So there we have a very basic rocket. This has nowhere near enough for us to get us into space, but it's not designed to. So there's one other thing that we'll need to do before we launch this, and this is set the staging. Now down here on the right, as you can probably tell, the game is a spanned HUD, which isn't too bad while you're designing the ships, but it can be a little bit annoying when you're actually flying them. So yeah, the staging is down here. Now, stage 0 is always your final stage, and basically you can then add stages to it and take stages away and drag particular parts. So in this case we are going to drag this engine off of stage 0 into stage 1. The reason we are doing that is because if we didn't, the second we launched it would deploy the parachute, which is not what we want. We want the parachute to deploy on the way back down, so we'll activate it later on another stage. Okay, so that's all the basics we need. I think, yeah, there's nothing else to add. You can also change your queue or your crew. Jebediah Kerman is basically your first one, or your first crew member. If these guys die, then in theory you can't get them back, but there's a little bit of a way to cheat the game, depending on how much you want to basically accept your consequences of your actions. And I'll get to that in a second. So let's launch our standard little rocket. We'll just call this the Hopper Mark 1, because it's only going to go up and down. 'Tis the plan. Okay, so there's our little rocket sitting on the launch pad. Okay, so the first thing I want to do is activate SAS by pressing T. This is basically just going to try and help it fly straight. Not that there's much I can do if it doesn't fly straight, because I've not really got anything on it to help it change direction, but it should be okay. So as on this screen, on the bottom right hand down here, you have the staging information. You also then have your roll, your yaw, and your pitch, and you can change your mode between staging, docking, and orbit map, which is basically just the map. But in this case, docking basically, again, it changes how the control system works. But for this, we want the staging. Up here, you have your launch time, T+, and you also have a time warp if you want to accelerate time. Directly above at the top, once the vessel has landed, you can recover the vessel, and that's how you'll get your money back from it. You also then have your altitude, how quickly you are ascending or descending, how deep you are in the atmosphere, and you can also turn off your lights, turn off your gears, and turn off your brakes. The bottom two, well, the brakes are only really relevant for moon buggies and space planes, and the gears are relevant for landing if you're trying or have a craft with landing gears on them, which I've not actually got any landing gears to put on this, so I'm basically going to have to land it back on top of its thruster. On the bottom, down here, I forget the name of this. There's a very specific name of it, but basically this tells you the direction and pitch you are in relation to the planet, or whatever you're orbiting. You then have your speed here, which can be changed, yeah. So that's relation or speed related to the surface, and then speed related to the orbit. You've also got your SAS button, which you can click here, or SAS mark here, and your RCS, which we don't have, which is basically uses something called monopropellant to turn. It's like spitting gas out of the side of the ship to turn it while in space. It's nearly useless in the atmosphere. And then you've got throttle on the left-hand side and G-forces on the right. So if we want to throttle all the way up, you have a little picture of your Kerman down here. You can put him on an EVA, which takes him outside the ship. If I told him to let go, he would fall back down to the floor. I don't think he would kill himself, but if he fell down to the floor in this state, I would never get him back. And then up here, you've got some extra information. So this is your current funds, your current reputation, current science. This is the resources currently available on the ship, and if you hover over them, you can see where the resources are. These are your current contracts. If you hover over them, it'll highlight them. If you click them, it will make them pin. And then this here is your notices. So one thing that I said, if you crash your parts, you can't get them back. That is kind of true. If it wasn't for the fact if I press escape, I can revert my flight either back to launch, which I technically haven't launched yet, or back to the vehicle hangar, which reverts everything. You don't lose anything. So basically, you can use that to get around any mistakes you make. However, for the purposes of this video and this particular playthrough, the second I've launched a ship, if I can't get it back down to the ground, I lose it. That is what I am doing. Okay, so we need to get to an altitude of 5,000 and we need to launch this ship. So, there we go. Press space, we launch. We're on the first stage here, and we want to be waiting until we get to about 5,000. At which point I will throttle down, and I will prepare to deploy the parachute on the way back down. So, as you can probably see from the frame rate at the upper right, it is dipping. You will get better frame rates on a single monitor, obviously, so I've now cleared that. I've actually deployed the parachute. I deployed it too soon, but never mind. So long as it doesn't go red, then the parachute's fine. But yeah, so performance is still a little bit of an issue. Once you can get an SLI profile working, it will probably be fine. Or at least I would hope so, because at the minute I'm using 70% of one core and 60% of another. Hang on, let me just turn my TV on, because that's where my CPU monitors are. So I should still have... I've got a decent amount of fuel, so I'm going to need to use that fuel to slow my descent. Yeah, I'm not maxing out the CPUs either, so yeah. There's still like an issue somewhere with the processing where it's basically using more resources than it actually should be doing. Yeah, that's now flat 30 frames per second. There's no reason for it to be. But it used to be sort of like 10, 12. So it's still playable at this. But previously it wasn't playable at all. I forget when this chute fully deploys. 500. The reason I'm fussing to help me dull or slow down is because if I'm travelling too fast when the chute deploys, either the chute will snap or it will rip off part of the ship, because it will generate a sudden surge of G-force. So let's give us a bit more thrust. There we go. That should be relatively safe. There we go. So now, just to get us down a wee bit quicker, it's kind of hard to see behind that. How fast you can accelerate time is dependent upon where you are in relation to an atmosphere or a planet. There we go. Hopefully this won't blow it up. It's fine. Let's get our Kerbal out. In fact, let's take a crew report. You'll want to be doing this because it gives you science. It'll only give me a very small amount of science because basically I'm on the ground and there's nothing wrong. But we'll also get our Kerbal out. Take him for a bit of a wander. And for the sake of it, let me take an EVA report, because again, that gives me useful science, albeit not much. Can I recover him, or do I have to get him back into a ship? I think I can recover him from here. So we're just going to wander over here. There is a reason why we're wandering over here. Okay. The reason we're wandering over here is to take a soil sample. For no good reason at all. And we shall also plant a flag. There we go. Little flag. Site name. Alpha Base, because I'm unoriginal and don't have the time to think of a good name. And no, I'm not going to wander him back into the ship. Can we recover him from here? Did we get him back? I presume we do. There we go. So there's our extra science that we got. We recovered our Kerbal. We haven't recovered our ship because our ship is still in the runway. So in order to do that, we will need to go to the Space Center. And we have our ship there, and we can recover it. And we recover the vessel. We'll get a little bit of science off of it, and we'll get money back for all of our parts. Any used fuel is of course lost. Okay, so that just leaves us to accept or acknowledge the completion of our contracts. So there we go, extra money, extra rewards, close, and that one. Oh, I need to delete them, don't I? Yep, delete. Okay, so now we have some science. So let's spend it. This here is the research center. If we go here, then we can use our research points to buy new parts for our ship. So this particular research will give us extra fuel tanks. It will give us a mysterious goo containment unit. This is for getting science points. And we also get a stack decoupler, and that will be important. So we'll get that. What else do we get? We have 15 science left. We have 17, so we can get something. Let's see what we got. Aerodynamics. Let us check what our next series of... I didn't start my timer. Next series of contracts are. So there we go, we've got plenty of contracts, plenty of new contracts now. So the next main one is setting an altitude record of 11,000. So we get 1,000 in advance, 5,000 for completing. May as well do that. So we now also have some extra ones. We can, basically all of these require us to test particular components in particular conditions. It does specify very specifically, I believe. This one wants us to, what is it? Test a radial decoupler orbiting Kerbin, which we cannot do at the moment, so there's no point us accepting it. This expires in 2 days and 3 hours, so we've got plenty of time that we can accept it, and we have 1 year to complete it. What about this one? This one is on trajectory. This one is actually a bit of a pain to do, but you can do it at the same time as orbiting Kerbin. So you can actually kill 2 birds with 1 stone with this, but we can't do it at the moment because we don't have the parts. What else we got? Test a stack decoupler landed at Kerbin. We can do that. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to accept everything that requires us to test it while landing, because they are very cheap, easy to do, and they can get us extra science and a small amount of extra money. So we shall accept that one, and we shall accept that one, and we shall accept that one. That one tests a liquid fuel engine in flight over Kerbin. We aren't going that high. Mark 16 parachutes. We can probably do that one. Probably, maybe. It requires us to be going a certain speed, maybe not. And that one we can't do. Okay. So, did I just... I just declined a contract. I didn't mean to do that, never mind. Okay, so... For this, we're actually going to... Because I think one of them is to test an engine. We can get our contracts down here. Liquid fuel engine landed at Kerbin. Okay, so this is the Spaceplane hangar. I've gone here to test the engine while landing, just because it's more fun to do it this way. So we need a small fuel tank. The engine we are testing is this one here. Okay, so now we need some way to stabilize this, because basically since this is a space plane, it will launch sideways. So what we are going to do is we are going to snap this onto the bottom of it, and then toggle that. What I want to do is have it, sometimes this is a little fiddly. There we go, like that. And we attach another one on the end of it. And we do a similar thing again. One to go that way. One to go that way. Can you guess what I'm doing here? Come on, lock onto there. There we go. I like this door. I like testing engines this way just because it is flat out more fun. It's the only reason. It is more fun. We'll give it longer forward skids. Okay, so there we go. We shall give this craft a name. I don't think I saved my other craft, which I should have done. You can save crafts to load later, but these are all basic things. But this one I want to save because I will reuse it. So we call this the engine tester, which I've spelt entirely wrong. It's probably still spelled wrong. Mark 1. Because I like doing my marks like that. Okay, so this only has one stage. Yeah. It's got a small fuel tank. How much fuel would I use, or how much money would I lose if I burnt all of this fuel in here? Not much really. There's less than 50. Okay, so let us launch this. So basically to test this, you just need to be contacted on the land, and all you really need to do is activate the engine. We're going to throttle it down. That one there. So you can see we are landed at Kerbal, so we hit the engine. That's all I needed to do. However, if I throttle it up, this thing should slide around. And I've got to be careful because I can still brake this thing and it will still go bang. Okay, so that's that one done. Nice and simple. A little bit of extra money, a little bit of extra science. Okay, so we will recover the vessel. Okay, get most of our money back. And we shall do the next test. Oh. Oh. I should have read that. That's going to be a problem. You see, it's asking me to test this one. The solid fuel rocket booster. The problem with these are they are basically candles. Well, more accurately, they are more like trick candles. Once you light a solid fuel booster, you have to burn through its entire fuel payload before you can turn it off. And as I said, that's going to present a problem, because this thing will probably destroy itself before it's finished testing. How to do this? If I decouple it, it's still going to be attached to the back of me. Okay, I can't test this one on this platform, which is a shame. I'll have to test this vertically. So we shall have to... the other one is to test a stack decoupler, which is simple enough. Just attach the decoupler. Launch. And activate stage 0. I wasn't expecting it to throw itself off quite that much and blow itself up. Well, we tested it. It's been destroyed, so we've lost all the money from it. We probably didn't make our money back, but never mind. We still got a nice amount of funds, and we need to start using other Kerman so that he doesn't get all of the... Oops. 24 science. So that he doesn't get all of the... oh, what's it called? Reputation. So while I'm thinking about it, we shall take him off. We shall put Bill Kerman on. We shall go back to Parts Builder. So we start off with our standard cockpit. We need to get it back down safely. We may lose this anyway during this test. I'm going to try and land it into the sea so we can try and save this, but it might not be possible. I may not have the parts. We're going to put a pair of these on because we can get some basic free science. And it will save me from having to remember to get that particular science later. As long as I can bring them back down safely, it should be fine. I could discard that stage, but I'm fairly sure that even if I did discard that stage, then... well, yeah. Even if I didn't discard the stage, this ship won't get destroyed when it lands only this, because I'm going for a sea landing. So even if I discard the stage, I lose it anyway, there's no point. So we forgot to save the first one, we will save this one, which we'll call it the Hopper Mark II, because again it's just going straight up and down. And we'll save that. Autosave ship, 5 parts, 1 stage. Is that my last ship? There we go, Hopper Mark I, save. Just so we have a record of all of our ships. Once you get into Sandbox, there's actually some ships you can make or use in here, but I think they don't appear in here until you have all of the parts that are included in them. But we're going to go to Sandbox in a little while anyway, so that I can show you space planes. Because I have a real fascination with getting them into orbit, and I've designed one that can do it, but it needs optimization. And I've done it before, but it's kind of tricky. So we shall observe the mystery goo while on the ground, to get us a basic amount of science. Then we shall lock in RSAS. I kind of did that wrong. I should have put these on the side, because what I'm going to do is I'm angling myself that way, because over there is the sea. And I want to splash land. So let's make sure, yep, staging is correct. So let's light the fuse in this. And let us angle that way slightly. There we go. That should get us into the sea. How high will this propel us? Yeah, that's definitely going to get us into the sea. And once we get... No, I think gravity will stop us from getting 1 to 110. 11. No, we've made it! Sweet! 2 birds with 1 stone. Let's observe the goo. A little bit more silence. The goo jiggles and wobbles as the craft flies. Okay, so now the only way I've got to decelerate this ship on the way down is the parachute attached to the front of it. So let us accelerate things. Now we are back on our way down. Let's deploy the chute because it will give us a little amount of drag. Also, let us turn the SAS off so it will start dangling straight down. In fact, I'm curious, if I put this sideways, will it slow me down a bit? I'm hoping the parachute doesn't rip itself clean off. If it does, I lose everything. Drag of the planet is slowing us down. Yeah, that doesn't tell me the force. I'm worried for my poor Bill. What's Jebediah doing in there? I thought I put Bill in there. Never mind. 100. It should survive the opening of the parachute. Should. Good. Okay, that should survive the splash land as well. All's good, all's safe. Let me turn SAS off. There's no reason for it to be on. So yeah, because basically it's burnt up all its fuel, this is a lot lighter now anyway. So let us just accelerate our way down. And normal speed. The physics, or in-air physics, starts to break if you accelerate too high. That's why you're basically limited to ×4. Damn it! The engine did not survive. I should have landed sideways. Well, that sucks. Okay, so we got some extra money, we got some extra that. Since we're in the ocean, this is a new crew report, I think. Let me see if I can roll this over. There we go. You know, I don't know whether Kerman sink or swim. But his suit is basically airtight. You should think this would be safe. This is the most precarious situation. Kind of is. Keep the data. Let's put him back on board. We don't want to run the risk of killing him. Since we're still in the water, we can recover the vessel from here. Okay, so we got a nice chunk of science for all of that. How much money did we get back? 22 to 2,000. How much was the engine that we lost? And Jebediah's come back with more reputation as well. Okay, so all our contracts have been completed. Let's just see how much money we lost for losing the engine. Not that much. Not that much, that's okay. 300, so. we can live with 300. So I think the next one is suborbital. Get a higher altitude. So this is basically going to require staging. There's no way I can do this without doing staging. Radial mount parachute. That I want. And I want to get it now because I want to be able to test it. And in fact, we go into the altitude to be able to test it anyway. So we want to set an altitude record. We want the parachute. That one I don't think I will complete. This one, you basically, in order to do this, you basically have to activate the stage under these conditions. And I won't be doing that this time. Radial decouple, that's orbiting. Suborbital trajectory. Sepratron, landed. That one we can do immediately. And it's a nice little chunk of science, so... Let us quickly test the Sepratron. The Sepratron is basically a very small... Did I forget to save it again? I'm a muppet. Yeah, the Sepratron is basically a very small solid rocket booster. It's designed to help push parts away from the ship. So we'll just mount it there. Save the ship. And launch. Okay, and then we just activate it. It just has enough for us to push this thing. But that's going to complete the thing anyway. And recover everything else because we should still have everything, all our money back. And again, Jebediah was probably flying that. Yep, so he gets all the reputation. He's a reputation hog. And we've got a decent amount of science we can get. I want to get these anyway, although I'm about to test them. I'm actually about to test these. We're not going to use the radial decoupler. Yeah, once we get the science for all of these, so let's see. 50, 20, 35. Need about 53, somewhere there or thereabouts. Okay, so this time our main objective is to get to an altitude of 22,000 and then test our radial mount parachute. So we want that, and again we want to put standard parachute on the top of it. We want a Sepratron here because we want the ability to test. Yeah, we want the ability to test this, and I want to be able to recover that particular. Yeah, I want to recover as much of this ship as possible. Basically, if I Sepratron without attaching a parachute to something, that thing's just going to plummet to Earth and be destroyed. So basically you lose the money. Plummet to Kerbin, sorry. This is not Earth, this is Kerbin. Okay, so we shall then have another stack underneath it. The single solid rocket booster on its own got us to about... I failed to save the Spaceplane again, didn't I? The single solid rocket booster got us to about... I think it was 11,000 on its own. I reckon I can do this in just a couple of stages. So let us delete these, delete that, delete that. We should give it the bigger fuel tank and attach that on. Give it a parachute. And to balance the ship, we'll give it 2. In fact, no, I don't think 2 is necessary. No, we'll give it 2 just so that we can keep the ship balanced. And we'll put it on that side. Okay, and then we want another Sepratron. And we want the solid rocket booster. And another pair of parachutes. Okay. So now we need to do the staging. We have the solid rocket booster, initiate the 2 parachutes next to it, and then the stage. Then we have standard fuel booster, initiate the 2 parachutes next to it, then the stage. Or the decoupler rather than the stage. And then we've got the final one on the top, so it's actually set that up correctly. So we should make sure we have the correct crewman in this time. We'll put in Bill Kerman. We shall call this... Spell it right. Hopper Mark 3. Save. We're going to a higher altitude. So I will have to try and remember to take a crew report once I get up there. This is going to unbalance the ship because I'm only putting one of them on. Is it heavy? It does have some weight. But again, because I'm going to be angling towards the sea slightly, I'm hoping it'll still be light enough and it's not going to cause me a problem. Because if you have instability of the weight, then the ship is going to pull one particular direction or another. And if you do that, you can lose control of the rocket. And if you do that, then your rocket is liable to crash. So, let us save again. I think everything is ready. This costs 7,500. Let's launch it. Okie dokie. Turn on SAS. Thrust all the way up. You can see it's kind of pulling left. Still trying to pull left due to the weight. So we'll have to correct it. There we go. It's stable. That should get the solid rocket booster into the sea. I may not have enough thrust, and that is not going into the sea. And I don't know if the parachute is successfully deployed. Well, we've got plenty of speed, so we may make it to the right height. How high do we need to be? We may have lost the solid rocket. Yeah, we'll make it. So, test the stack decoupler. I was going too fast! Damn it! Never mind. Observe the goo while I'm here. I fluffed that up. I was going too fast, and now I'm too high. We're not quite out of the atmosphere yet, but we're nice and high, so we'll complete that because it's a nice chunk of cash, and we shall accelerate things back down to the ground. We are still going up. How high are we going to end up? Not quite an orbital height. I'm fairly sure I've probably lost the solid rockets. We'll find out whether or not we've lost the other ones later. Okay, we'll deploy the parachute. Did that go? Yeah. Parachute is ready to be deployed. It's just because we're too high, there's no air for it to deploy. Slow it down a bit to let the parachute... There we go. Turn off SAS. I can't see the debris in the sea. There's something over there. Oh, that's my flag. That's my flag over there. Good, we're slowed down enough that they shouldn't break the chute. I'm deployed, and I forgot to take a crew report while I was up at that altitude. Never mind. splash down in a second. Okay, recover the vessel. So those are the goo observation, data from the flight, command pod, parachute, goo, monopropellant. And what the hell is Jebediah Kerman doing on that ship? Did he kick Bill off or something? Okay, let's see if our debris survived. It didn't. Which means those ships or... yeah, we lost them. If the engines had survived, they would have been listed under debris and I could have recovered them if they was on the planet. So I lost them. Okay, never mind. So we should have enough science to get all 3 of these now. And I do want all 3 of these. We still need to test the parachute at a high orbit, but now what do we need to do? Escape the atmosphere. So yeah, that one's basically just get really, really high. So the ship that we just did, the Hopper 3, got us to 50,000. So we can probably do that fairly easily. That's test in orbit. That's test in flight at speed. I think I can do that one now. That one's harder to do. That one I really want to be in a space plane to do. And that one I'm not going to do at the moment. I will try and do that one when I try to orbit. Okay, so active ones. We are trying to escape the atmosphere. Clues. Okay, so problems that we had with this ship, let's think. First off, let's make this balanced, because we can do 2 lots. And we want them this side and that side, like that. This got us to 50,000. We need a little bit extra to get us higher. We are going to detach that. We're going to take that off. We're going to put a smaller fuel container on it. No. I'm thinking about this wrong. The final stage wants a smaller fuel container and wants one of those. The initial stage, the second stage, where is it? Staging the structural. So I actually have a radial decoupler now, so I can actually decouple things on the side and shoot them off either side. But we're still going with a straight up forward. Or a rocket that goes straight up into the air. Okay. Now those parachutes should be enough to slow down empty fuel tanks. Semi-deployed drag. Where's semi-deployed altitude? No, I think they just semi-deploy whenever there's air. Yeah, I'm not sure why they didn't survive. Okay, so let's check the staging on this quickly. This is Mark 4. So we have the solid rocket booster. That's not actually going to get us very high, and it's going to have to come straight back down and land on the ground. And last time it didn't make it, so we're probably going to lose that again. We have the 2 parachutes next to it, and that. No, what we're going to do is we're going to move the parachutes to there so that we can get some distance between the two before we activate the parachutes, in case what was happening is the parachutes was activating and then being burnt up in the thrust of the stage above it. Because I activated them fairly quickly and immediately. Okay, and then that all comes apart. Although that shouldn't have applied for that one. That part should have made it down. Okay, so let's save the ship. Jebediah Kerbal, get your ass off the ship. Bill, stay on the ship. Okay. Let's give this one a try. I think this will get me to the orbital height I'm after. Whether or not it will let me complete that particular mission, I don't know. This last stage is probably going to activate sometime after that point there, and the first stage won't get me to there. So we'll see. The main one is to complete this one, not this one here, because it's worth more. Oh, that's the one I'm trying to complete. So we don't know. We'll see how it goes. I may have judged it right. However, I don't think it will work. I don't think it's quite accurate. Okay, precariously balanced. Turn our SAS on. Thrust all the way up. Not that it's going to make much of a difference for this one. I think I can resize that. Yep. Okay, let's launch. So because there's less weight, or there's more weight in this, and this only has a certain amount of thrust, you can see that I'm accelerating slower. Now I want to tilt that way slightly, not much. That is most definitely not going to make its way into the sea, but I'd like my other stages too. Okay, so detach, burn. I can't see the parachutes. I don't know if they're actually deploying. Yeah, this doesn't have enough fuel to be able to properly test the next stage. Yeah, those parachutes aren't deploying. So yeah, I've not managed to do this, but I should still make it to space. We'll now angle ourselves straight upwards. Actually, that said, there's not enough fuel in that last stage. What height did that end? There we go. Okay, so we've got to get this back down because of the way I decided I'm going to play this. If I had actually ejected the stage or if I had ejected the stage when I could have done, or when the engine ended or turned itself off, I probably could have done that one. We'll see whether or not we can do it on the way back down though. Okay, so I wanted to observe the goo at this height. This is a suborbital height. Nah, I get next to no science because I've done that before. It still counts. Okay, so we'll go up. And on our way back down, what's given us the speed. Let me tilt this craft sideways so that when I eject it, slow down a bit please. Let's deploy that one. Try and slow us down a bit. Nope, we've lost the altitude and we're still travelling too fast, so I better discard that. Try and separate myself from the two. This will not end well if I can't get off them. There we go. Yeah, so that's descending a lot slower than I am. So it should easily make it... maybe that was it. Maybe I landed before it did. There we go. I'm safely back down. There's me debris. No, because the debris would still appear in the Space Center. There it comes. Yeah, it survived. It's right over there. Okay, so let's recover this vessel. We didn't accomplish any goals. Most of the money was in the other parts. So the debris that landed in the sea near me survived, the rest of it didn't. So let's recover that. Because again, it will get me a bit of money back. I didn't know I could click that button. I have no idea what that button does. Current launch, probably. Okay, let's try that again. So... there's no way that's too heavy to crash. Or there's no way that that's so heavy that those two parachutes can't stop it from landing safely. Let us just make a note of this. It's something I wasn't sure previously because, again, I've been doing this thing before. So we have about 40472 is our current funds. This will cost us 11422. Once I launch, it will tell me how much money I have left. Before we do that, how do I want to get this up higher? More fuel in the second stage? Probably means that this won't have enough for us to get us up. But we'll go with that. We'll give the second stage more fuel, which will make the whole thing heavier. Which might mean that this no longer has the thrust to do the initial burn. How much thrust does it have? I changed my mind, I thought of a different option. We're going to discard that stage. We still want that engine there, we don't want that. Put that there. It is only the initial war or the initial burn that's given us problems, so attach that. And we'll put on this massive solid rocket booster. And again, we shall give it a pair of parachutes. That is one parachute, not a pair of parachutes. Okay, so let us change what I scribble down here to how much it costs. 11797. Okay, so this is Mark 5 because Mark 4 didn't work. No, we'll call it 5.2 or 4.2, and we shall raise it up so it's not inside the ground. Okay, let's give this a whirl. So again, save, and is Bill coming on it? Nope. Yeah, Bill coming back on it. Check the staging. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to make a tweak. Why are they listed individually? I'm going to make a slight tweak. We're going to put these parachutes a little bit lower. Just in case the decouplers are destroying them. But again, that decoupler there didn't destroy that one. So anyway, we will do this and then we'll do a space plane because it's 41 minutes and I've probably already recorded 15 before this, so this episode is going to be over an hour, not to worry. Okay. SAS on, throttle full. Last checks. Jebediah! I swear that guy's got a ego complex. He keeps kicking Bill off unless I'm doing something silly. Okay, so let's try this. So not only does this particular, the solid rocket booster, have more fuel in it, it actually already also has a higher thrust. But again, because it has more fuel in it, it weighs more. Now, I would like to angle myself to try and get it into the sea. That's about as much angle as I'm going to get. That's how much money I've got, so that's 2, 8, 6, 7. Again, I didn't see the parachutes deploy. Okay, we're over the sea. We want to be trying to go as upwards as we can do now. Again, the only reason I'm angling over the sea, there's a second reason why you angle this way, but I'm angling over the sea to try and recover as much of the ship as I can. I have the speed. Do I have the altitude? Not yet. And now I'm losing speed. Can I get the altitude and keep the speed? Yes! I should have tested all of them. It hasn't deployed. I want to deploy them, but there's no control down there. Oh, bollocks, that's why. Because I've detached them from the ship, they can no longer be controlled from the ship. This isn't going to get me anywhere near high enough, is it? Oh, no, it gets me high enough. So at least I'll complete 2 of them. But at least now I know why I'm losing those parts. That's probably from completing that. Yeah, looks about right. So yeah, that's why moving the stages or moving it onto a different stage has meant that they can't deploy. So I am just losing those parts, which is a pain. Never mind. Okay, we are almost out of the atmosphere. We are out of the atmosphere, we are in space. So while we are here, observe the goo. Take a crew report. Get him out. Oh, I can't because I've blocked off the thing. Oops. Are we going to make it to 100,000? We will. Now, so that I don't lose it... Oh, that's alright, I'm not going to, so... Kick them off anyway, that should have activated the parachutes. That sounded like something exploded. Okay. And once I get to 100,000 meters, I will also do the goo on the other side, which won't get me anywhere near as much science, but it will be good to do. Observe the goo. Oh no. Still a nice amount of science. Okay, so let's get us back down. So you can see here, kind of, if it wasn't obscured by my counter, there's actually more options here. If I click the first one, that's now 5 times. The next one is now 10 times. And then the one after that is 50 times. And now it's been knocked down to 4. So we shall activate the parachute and we shall just let us fall. Re-enter in the atmosphere. So, I'll talk about that while I do my space plane. Or while I do the space plane. Did we beat the other bit of debris down? Debris? Debris? I don't know which I prefer to pronounce it as. Okay. So, we recover the vessel. Plenty of science from that trip. And Jebediah is going to get all the credit. Yeah, he's not gaining as much reputation anymore because he's basically been on a lot of trips. So let's see. We should still have the last stage. The last stage may not have landed yet. No, even if it hadn't landed, it would still be listed as debris. It got destroyed. How did it get destroyed? Yeah, that's one thing I'm not entirely sure that the game is keeping track of properly. Certainly the last stage should make it down safely. It has done before. So there's no reason it shouldn't do. I think that's a bug. I think because I landed first and ended my flight, it deleted it. The other ones I can accept got destroyed, but... Anyway, we shall quickly have a look at what science we've got and our next contracts, or what we can get for science. We've only got 50 though. 50 to spend. Which I might spend on that so I can get more science. But we also now have new cockpits, we have winglets, which might actually be useful. We can now launch a satellite. That is very useful to have. It basically increases the amount of torque the ship has just to turn on its own. This one is useful to have as well because this is a launch stabilizer. These are good because they can be used to connect ship parts together to make them, or the whole ship, stronger. And then these are just larger fuel and a smaller fuel. That's generally speaking going to be your standard fuel tank once you get it. But because I want to accelerate progress of getting science, we shall do that one. We shall accept our next missions, which will be Orbit Kerbin. Test radial decoupler in orbit. I can do that because the section that's going to get me into orbit, I can then just discard in orbit. So we can do that one. I'm not going to do that one because, again, this solid fuel booster is heavy. It takes a lot to get it up there. And once you get it up there, you basically just have to burn it and hope it doesn't throw you out too far. So it's kind of a pain to test. I did manage to do it once though. Test launch stabilizers landed at Kerbin. Test parachute in flight over Kerbin, and again, I don't think I can do that one. So, does that mean it's actually given me those? It has. Good. We're not going to test those at the moment. Because these things here, they're launch stabilizers, they go on the side of the ship and they basically keep it upright and help it launch straight. So we're going to use that for the orbital craft. But I want to very quickly get a little bit of extra science and then we shall load a Sandbox world and I'll show you a few extra things. What do I need? My test platform. Okay. Oh, I did save it. What was the other thing they wanted me to test? Oh, it wasn't that they wanted me to test, I just wanted to cheat. I wanted a bit of free science. We shall launch it for no other reason than to observe the material bays on the ground. Because you need control conditions just to have a sample. Keep data. What did I complete? Escape the atmosphere, I just not cleared it. Okay, so we'll cover this and we'll get all the money back from that plus a tiny amount of extra science. Okay, save the game. Save it as... what did I call it? Skid Kerman, didn't I? Kerman. Save. And let us load up. Can I load up from here? No, I've got to go back. I have to load up the campaign. So we resume a save campaign and we resume our Sandbox campaign. Okay, so let's have a look at the Spaceplane. I've shown you some basic rockets, so now I'm going to show you a basic Spaceplane. Now it is possible to get Spaceplanes into orbit. They're apparently referred to as STOs, or SSTOs, single stage to orbits, and there is one in here that will do it already. I think it's that one. These are example planes, yeah. This one here can make it into orbit. It's a fairly simple one, but it does get up there. However, I've designed my own, which looks a bit like this. However, there's a few problems with it. Firstly, it has way more fuel than it needs for the jet engine. I ended up with about 240 units of fuel left on to basically get me back down, which is way more than I need. And I've also equipped the wrong type of RCS boosters, which I think come under here. Yeah, I equipped these, which I believe use liquid fuel and oxidizer as their fuel source, whereas these ones here use monopropellant. These ones actually have a higher thrust rating, but I might actually keep them because they kind of worked well. But yeah, they're more expensive and they use up basically rocket fuel. And I equipped a monopropellant tank, which kind of rendered the entire thing pointless. So I've either got to remove the tank or remove those. How much do these weigh relative? Ah, they're lighter. But of course the monopropellant fuel tank has a mass of its own. The monopropellant fuel tank weighs more. It is that simple. So we shall remove it. We shall disassemble that. Remove that. Reassemble that. Will it let me? Nope. Probably because they're in the way. Nope. Maybe because that's in the way. There we go. So let's reattach these. Pull that as far forward as we can get it. Because I have one there, I don't need that one. I also don't need that one. Okay, let's reattach the winglet at the front. Okay, so one thing to know about space planes is that, well, planes in general, these three buttons here allow you to show the centre of mass, which is the big orange one, the centre of thrust, which is the purple one at the back, and the centre of lift. When you're making a plane, you want to make sure that the centre of lift is behind the centre of mass, somewhere around about here-ish. There's a couple of reasons for that. Firstly, if it's in front of it, then the plane becomes a lot harder to control. But you want it further back so that as the plane burns fuel, the weight will shift around and the centre of mass will move forwards, particularly in case of this particular ship, because the rocket fuel is here. So once that's been burnt, then that's going to move it forward and make it harder to land. So, let's think. I need to remove some fuel. I want to remove it here to move the centre of mass forward, because I've removed the propellant tank there. So they're attached to that. These spike engines are attached to that, and these wings are attached to that. So we need to take the wings off. Take that off. Take that off. Take that off. Ah yeah, I also need to add another couple of those, but we'll delete those for now. Okay, so... Ah, balls. Ah, I didn't want to do them both. I just wanted one of them. That's problematic. I may have to rebuild most of this ship then, because I've got to take that off, and it won't let me put that back on with those there. I don't think. There's a second one in line one. Does that have fuel in it as well? It does. So I'm just going to have to replace it with a standard fuselage. So we connect that to the back there-ish. We attempt to reconnect that to there. Yeah, it's not going to let me do it with these wings here. Okay. So now we have to reassemble this thing. Has that kept its angle in? It has, but I might be attaching it to the wrong side. I am. It wants to be up here-ish. No. Yeah, the angles are wrong. It's not saved the angles when I've detached it because they're all pointing up and they should be pointing down. So let's reset it. I wanted this one just so I can see. That was about center, and then down a couple, and then slight rotation upwards to make it straight. Yeah. And then this one here, reset it, was again 2 above, angled down to connect to that. Something like that? No, it wasn't that far down. Something like that. There we go, that's how it was. May have been a bit further forward, not sure. Okay, so let's reattach this. They just go off to the side slightly. That's how I had them. Let's reattach the spike engines. Sometimes things won't attach properly. What I basically did there was, because it wouldn't attach on the other side, it's red, I just rotated it all the way around and let me attach it. We need the landing wheels. They went on the wings. The landing wheels went on the wings. Did they? No, they didn't actually. The landing wheels were on here, about there-ish. They want to be away from the engine, but... Yep. Okay, so let's see if these wings are going to derp. Yep, they are. It's not how they're supposed to attach. This is the top wing, yeah, this is the top wing, so let's reset it. That's center, up 1, 2, and then bring it down to center. Down there-ish. That's center there, 1, 2. And bring it up to center there-ish. In fact, while I'm here, I only need one of those. That looks roughly how it was, I think. I don't think that top one, yeah, I don't think that was quite so high. I think it was one down, and I think it's only a light curve. I think that's probably closer. I think we're about there. I am well over an hour. Never mind, if people are watching this far, they are obviously interested, which is good. Okay, so what this one here does, this is a external fuel duct. It basically allows fuel to move from here to here because particular parts have... Where does it say? It does say somewhere. Yeah, there you go. No fuel crossfeed. Basically, parts can crossfeed fuel between them. Generally speaking, if they're in a line like this, then the air from this intake is quite happy to go through the ship to there. And the fuel that's in here will also then go straight away to here. And because I've attached this pipe in here, the external fuel duct, then fuel from this tank, which is my rocket fuel, because it has oxidizer in it as well as liquid fuel, they can get to the spike engines. But one thing I forgot to do last time, because these things hold fuel in them and I didn't know it, because as I said I've tested this ship before, is to do the reverse, because this engine here only uses liquid fuel. So now the liquid fuel from these can get into that. So overall, this ship should now be lighter, which means it's going to be easier to get it up to the height that I got it up to last time. We shall rename it. It is Mark II. Let us make sure that everything is correct. Everything looks correct. Oh, let me just check this. Wait. Ooh. That's a little bit too far forward for my liking. I reduce some weight from the back to try and push that forward. Or to push the centre of mass forward. Okay, we can tweak this slightly. We can move these back fractionally. They're just over the top of the wings now. Oops. That might do it. If I also bring these back slightly, if I can. I think that'll do it. Okay, there is one thing I forgot to do, and that's assign action groups. Now, because this is a plane, basically all of the engines are going to activate in the first stage. It's a single stage to orbit, so basically we're not dropping any parts. That means we need more precise control over each individual stage. Good. And you can do that by using these custom ones. If you go up here, you can go to action groups. And there are some basic action groups that apply to all. In fact, there's one other thing I want to attach to this, because we're going to be flying at night. So yeah, basically if I click on the turbo spike engines, you've got both of them here because they were set up as a pair. Then you can apply action groups to the, or put these particular actions into the action group and then command them on a single button press. So what we need to do, turbojet engine, oh that's okay, that's good. So those radial intakes and those radial intakes. So basically on action 1 I can turn on these rocket jets, and on action 2 I'm going to turn, or I can toggle on and off the jet engine. So the way a STO works is that let me try and get this thing airborne first. Okay, so yeah, the way that these ships work is they use their conventional jet engines to get to a really high height using nothing more than the jet engine, and then once they're up there they accelerate to as fast as they can before engaging the jet engine or the rocket engines, and the rocket engines take them the rest of the way. So we activate first stage, we throttle all the way down because we don't actually want to activate the rockets. Kill that. Wait, that's wrong. That is very wrong. There's something not right with the staging of this. I'm only deactivating one of the jet engine, or one of the rocket engines. Aerospike. Remove toggle engine. Toggle engine. Save. Try again. Okay, throttle all the way down, engage the brake, activate the engines, kill them. Okay, we activate the 8 of the jet engines, we enable SAS, we need to keep a close eye on our fuel, on specifically our air intake. We let the engine power up a bit and release the brakes. Okay, so because we only have a single engine on this, this doesn't have a lot of thrust. But because of the amount of wings I've got on it, it has enough thrust and enough what's it called? Enough thrust and enough lift to be able to get into get off the ground. And once you've got off the ground, that's the hardest part of this particular flight with something designed like this. So there we go. We can put the gears away. So you can see we're not going particularly fast, and that's pretty much going to be the case. What we need to do is get some altitude. So while we're not going particularly fast, we shall get to about 45-degree angle, and we shall just climb. Now, the reason we're climbing is because the thinner the atmosphere is, the higher we are, the less gravity affects on us, and the thinner the atmosphere is, the less drag the ship has. And we use that to our advantage. So I've put an SAS. This isn't actually... This is urine. Urine. Is it not balanced? Is there something on here on one side that's not on another side? That might become a problem later. Basically the ship is pulling to the left or right. It might just be because I'm not flying straight. Let's try and correct that. No, the weight is definitely pulling me in one direction. I don't think there's anything on one side of the ship that should be pulling, making it pull one way or the other. It looks stable. Never mind. Anyway, yeah. So basically, it's a matter of managing one particular thing. Your speed, your height, or three particular things. Your speed, your height, and your air intake. So this jet engine will cut off once it loses the air, or doesn't have enough air to keep flying. The reason why going with a single jet engine in the centre is preferable is because if this engine cuts out, the ship isn't going to spin around because it's straight down the centre of the ship. If I had a jet engine on either side, then if I got to a particular height and I lost or wasn't taking in enough air to keep it running, then one of the engines would misfire. And when one of the engines misfires, you then have one engine thrusting and the other engine not, which spins the craft. And if you're not careful, you can lose control of the craft that way. So we're going to continue getting as much height as possible to around about, I think 15,000? No, I think 20,000. Because I've managed to get this up to 30,000 before I engaged the engines last time. So we'll get it to about 20,000 and then we'll level out. At which point we're basically trying to accelerate just straight onwards. So we want to keep our altitude the same and just keep going straight forward. The fact it's trying to yaw in one direction, or yeah? The fact it's trying to turn in one particular direction worries me. So if you actually look at the trail, you can see that I'm going this way, but because gravity's pulling me back down and we don't really have much thrust, the trail's actually going that way. So that's the direction I'm actually heading, which is actually this marker here. And then that's the direction I am heading, which is this one here. Okay, so air intakes it down at 50. Let's straighten up a bit. I want to get a bit more speed. Yeah, it's trying to pull left. So at this point we're trying to level out and just increase our speed. So now we're going down, we need more altitude. And the SAS is not doing a good job of keeping me there, so I'll have to do it manually. There we go. So I want to basically, or what I'm trying to do is increase very slowly my height while increasing my speed. So let's accelerate time a bit. There we go. My air intake is now shot up because I'm now going quickly. Now that we have the extra air intake and a decent amount of speed, let's get a bit more height. Yeah, this craft is a lot less stable than it used to be. Something's not balanced on it. Because you can see it's twisting one direction. Implies there's something on the right hand wing pulling it down. Okay, air intake is at 20, that's fine. It's 0.1 that I need to be concerned. Okay, so let's straighten up a little bit. Again, we're accelerating. So if I had a dual engine setup, a two engine setup, they would cut out around about here, but because I've got a single engine and a lot of air intakes, it's still fine. Okay, I need to accelerate rather than continue going up. So we'll track forward a bit. Because the faster we go, the more air we're getting in. Because there's more air passing over the air intakes. How much fuel have I used? I've still got plenty because the large tank here in the middle holds about 150, isn't it? Yeah, 150, and then these hold 40 each, which means I've got 150 plus 80, 230 to play with. And then the rest of it will be consumed by the rocket engines. Okay, so let's accelerate time a bit. Ship is wobbling, ship is heading back down. Okay, I think we're far enough out of the atmosphere that the ship can't keep itself up without the RS or that on. The fact it's pulling one direction is also not helping. I think I know why it's pulling one direction. If you remember, I deleted one of the RCSs on the left hand side. I'm fairly sure it didn't remove it from the right. Okay, so if we have a look here, go to the map, this is our trajectory. That's as high as we would get if we did nothing. But we're aiming to get a bit higher than this, because I know it can do it. We're still accelerating slowly, but acceleration is still acceleration, and we are still within our budget of fuel. We can use at least 200. Once we've used 200, we're probably going to have to switch the rockets. Okay, so let us level out a little bit, because again, we don't want to be heading up so much as we want to be accelerating. We are not heading downward yet. Now we're heading downward, so... Can you hover about there? Yep, that's good. We're still accelerating. We've got a bit more air intake to work with. We're not gaining much more speed. We are steadily gaining height again. The problem is I'm burning through my oxidizer using the RCS, which is not ideal. Okay, so we're now at 33,000 using nothing but a single jet engine. It's probably not producing much thrust at the moment. Yeah, thrust is going down. Okay, we've basically reached the limit of what we can do on its own, so let's fire up the jet rockets and kill the jet engine. Okay, so because we were so high up, we didn't really need much thrust. There we go, that's 1/2 of an orbit. So in order to get into orbit, basically you have to get to a certain height. I think it's around about 70, 80,000. And then once you reach this point here, you need to thrust straight forward along the curve that you're going around. And what that will do is accelerate you in that direction. The planet will then pull you around, and it will actually, by accelerating that direction, pull out the, this is the apex, there's, I think it's perpex on the other side. It will extend that, which will then keep you in orbit. So what I could do is just accelerate straight along here. I want to raise that a bit, but I don't want to burn up too much fuel. So the aim is that once I get to there, we shall add a maneuver. Once we get to there, we want to accelerate out that way until... Push that in. There is our Piopolis, something along those lines. I pronounced it wrong. I'm not sure how you're supposed to pronounce those, but yeah. Once this is up to around about 80 as well, we'll get it so it spins around like that. That's 80 there, 90 there. Let's bring it back a bit. Whoop, too far. Somewhere about there. 80, 89. So that is actually a stable orbit. So because we've added this maneuver here, if I move this back a bit, because it's not quite where it wants to be there. In fact, let's redo this. Add maneuver. Oops. There we go. That'll do it. That's about an even orbit. Okay, yeah, so because I've added this maneuver here, it's added this information down here. This tells me when I need to burn and how much speed I need to gain at that point to make that orbit. So you can actually control the ship entirely, well, mostly, from the map. So what we'll do, if I angle down, this mark here is basically the burn marker. That is where I need to burn, or activate my burn, in order to make the orbit that I'm trying to make. So I've turned my RCS off at the moment because we're not thrusting and it's not pulling. The sun is on the other side of the planet. There's a very good reason why it's on the other side of the planet. It's because when I land, I'm going to land over there. Although I'm probably going to crash land because landing planes is hard. But we'll give it a go anyway. 1 hour 30 minutes. This is a long video. So 2 minutes. Let's accelerate to get there quicker. 2 minutes. 1 minute. 20 seconds. 16, 15. Let's just correct my angle. There we go. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, burn. And kill the engine. Yep. So we can now delete this maneuver, and we have a successful orbit. And just to prove the point, that little marker there is my ship. And I can't accelerate it faster than that. But it's going around, and these 2 points are stable. Okay, so now we need to get back down to the planet, and I've been wasting fuel. Have I been wasting fuel? No, that's a rendering glitch. My engines aren't actually on. So I have no idea why it's rendering that they are. So in order to get back down, what you basically need to do is burn towards this point, and that will decrease your altitude on the other side. Really, you want to be doing this from this point here, the highest point, because that'll bring the lowest point down, which means you use less fuel because it's already nearer the planet. So we want to lower it to about, I think 50,000 is enough, but 40,000 is normally what I aim for. Okay, so if we now loop our way back around again. This is going to be in the dark, I think. Going to take a little bit of a while to get there. So while we wait, basically after this video, not today, bloody hell, it's 11 o'clock. The next video after this I am probably going to do is a game called, I think it's Factoric. It's spelt weird, but it's a very interesting game. It's currently in a late stage of alpha, but there's enough there to basically show you the concepts of it. So that's the next game that I'm going to do. After that, I might do Firefall, or I might do Arcade, because I've been spending all of the weekend playing Arcade. I am maximizing time acceleration, I am, yeah. Let's take it off the map so we can see our altitude. So yeah, I'll be doing one of those the week afterwards. I probably want to start doing filler videos again. I've still got plenty that I can do in Monster Hunter, but I could also then like record my campaign for this and do a filler video, or do that as my filler videos. So I'll let you decide if you actually get to this point and hear this part. If you want me to keep doing the Monster Hunter ones, or if you want me to keep doing or do a Kerbal Space Program playthrough. I've still got plenty of rocket fuel. I really should burn some of that. So yeah, I leave it up to you for which you want me to play. If nobody replies, I will probably stick with Monster Hunter. Probably. I don't know. I want to do something. Okay, we're heading back into the atmosphere. Let us angle up slightly because we want to try and brake, and I think this is supposed to help. He says as the SAS does a bad job keeping me pointing forward. It's night, I'm not going to make it into the daytime. This is going to be a bitch to land. I'm not going to be able to see. Okay, we're descending rapidly, but we are slowing down. Let us tilt upwards. Re-engage. No, they're already engaged, so let us... I want to burn all my rocket fuel. Plus this is giving me my electric charge back. What I don't want to do is go back into orbit. Okay, rocket fuel burnt. Okay. Activate the jet engine. Should have plenty of air intake. Okay, spin the engine up. So because this ship basically now is a lot lighter, it will function a lot more like a plane. So, also because it's lighter now, this single engine has enough thrust to get some pretty high speeds up, or higher speeds up than it could have done previously. But we want to angle down slightly. Let's turn SAS off. Yeah. This craft isn't quite flying straight. So let's turn SAS back on, otherwise I'm not going to be able to do anything in terms of landing this thing. So yeah, we want to go down. We don't want to go down too quickly, so let's throttle off. I should have installed some lights on this thing. I was almost going to. I wanted to install lights on it. Should I split this video into 2 parts? Put this in the second part? I don't know, because by the time I get to a point where I can attempt to land... Is that sea beneath me? No, that is definitely land. Oh, I don't know. No, the sea's there. I'm over land. Where's the space base? It's there, isn't it? It's a little island. Yeah, even at maximum speed, I'm not going to be able to get around to the other side of it. I can about see the ground. Problem is, I can't land on a hill unless I land on the top of it. There's a little bit of light over there. I don't know what that is. So let's just accelerate downwards a bit. We're going to need to slow down in order to land. There's a mountain right in front of us. There be the ground. It is coming very quickly to meet us, and that's an upwards hill, which is going to be a pain to try and land on. So you can see how light this ship is now. I need very little thrust to keep it going straight forward. And that's because it's burnt all the rocket fuel. I wish I knew how far away everything was. It's too dark to tell, I've got no depth perception. There's the ground, this is definitely an uphill mountain. I can about see it. Turn the gears on, slow down. Slow down much more than that. Much more. Okay, so what we're trying to do is continue going down and losing forward momentum, but we want to be going down very, very slowly. So this craft is basically gliding at the moment. That's how much lighter it is and how much lift it has. Problem is landing on an upwards hill, and this is all upwards hill. This is a dangerous place to land. I'm just skirting the ground. I'm actually down. I'm almost down. The back wheels are touching the ground. Hit the brakes. I landed it. In the dark, on an upwards hill. Tuft of grass directly in front of me. And look, our Kerman, he's alive and safe, but if I let go, there's no ladder for him to get back on. For the sake of interest, let's see how quickly this thing will launch now that there's basically no fuel in it. And hopefully... Oh, I'm already airborne. That really didn't take long at all. So yeah, Kerbal Space Program, and this is a semi-successful ship. I'm fairly sure there's 2 of these things here. And that's what's causing part of the instability. Also the design of it, because I wanted to make it look a little bit different, and I think I like this design. But this is a really, really efficient single stage to orbit ship. Insanely efficient. Basically that single tank there is all of the rocket fuel it has. And then it's got these fuel tanks here. It used the entirety of that to get us into orbit, or to get us high enough to orbit, and then these are for landing again. Yeah, nice little ship. So that's Kerbal Space Program, or a basic look at Kerbal Space Program. You can basically do a lot of it. As I said, it's a sandbox, so while this thing is just flying nicely and straight, we'll go to the map. If we zoom out, this is Kerbin. These are satellites that I've put around it. This is a space station I've put around it. This is the Mun. That is a rover on the Mun. There may actually be a Kerbal on the Mun. I may have picked him up. I think that thing there is orbiting the Mun. But there may still be a Kerbal on the Mun. I can't remember whether or not I picked him up. And then also you got a further Mun, the Minimum. I have a satellite here that is on an exit, or has left the Kerbin planet, and I think is on a trajectory to try and intercept this planet here. There are multiple planets that you can go to, so really it's up to you. You can get a planet, or just stick to your local planet in the moons, or you can try and go to another planet, and you can try and land on the other planets and all this sort of stuff. So it's a very cool game, and definitely worth the time. Hopefully we'll be able to get an SLI profile on it and it will perform better, but it's stabilised now, probably because the sun's behind the mountains. So yeah, Kerbal Space Program. Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the episode. If you did, please like and subscribe. Again, if you would like me to make more videos on Kerbal Space Program and progress through the career with my rule that the second I've launched it, either I have to get it back or it is destroyed. Destroyed and lost, or so yeah, if you want me to do that, let me know. Otherwise I'll try and continue to do the Monster Hunter videos I do as a filler. But yeah, short-term plan for next week is to do Factory, I think it is. It's basically factory, but the last few letters are replaced with IO. Factoro. It's strange. Anyway, I'll show you that next week. So again, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe. And hopefully, I will see you next time. It would be a shame just to crash it into the ground. I'm not going to do that. Bye.